Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So recently they dropped a whole bunch of new behind the scenes stuff for Star Wars The Force Awakens, and J.J. Abrams along with a bunch of the cast were talking about the movie. There were some hilarious quotes, so I'm going to play this behind the scenes featurette, then I'm going to talk about some of the funniest things that they said.
Star Wars, it's an incredible story of people finding their place in a world. These characters,
their lives, though they're in a galaxy far, far away, it's a journey that people can relate to. I feel honoured that I've been allowed to continue the journey.
Camera, action! What happens to these characters that we know and love? It's a world I want to get back to immediately.
Star Wars magic, it does take your breath away. And that is something that George Lucas started, and we're definitely carrying that on.
I've been a Star Wars fan as an adult and a child.
I mean, this is crazy. Just look around.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Every single person who's come to the project has been a huge Star Wars fan.
I'm literally shaking, like this is insane.
It's this cross-generational group of people who are bringing all of those sensibilities to the making of this movie.
He signed his action figure.
Right here.
Chewie, we're home.
This part of my Star Wars journey is quite different now, because now I feel part of the family.
We're going back to these stories that people feel intensely about.
Really, the whole point of this clip is just showing how the new actors are experiencing like their deep dive into the Star Wars universe. Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, they've been living it for so long, but these actors never saw the original trilogy in theaters, so it's almost brand new for them stepping into this world. And just to be clear, yeah, a lot of people saw the prequels in the theaters because those came out much more recently, but J.J. Abrams said that most of the inspiration for Episode 7 came from the original trilogy. So when the new actors are experiencing things for the first time, they're really experiencing the world of the original trilogy, which is actually a nice segue to funny things overheard during Star Wars press conferences. So, Lawrence Kasdan, writer of the movie along with J.J. Abrams, has written a whole bunch of Star Wars. He said the funniest quote in the world. He said, "I've written 4 Star Wars movies, and I do not know what the canon is." The big controversy in the fandom was that they kind of threw the expanded universe out, so it's not canon anymore. If you don't know what canon means, canon is just the stuff that the authors acknowledge as actually happening inside the universe of the story. So when we say something is not canon anymore, like Grand Admiral Thrawn, there might have been a bunch of books about him that were amazing, and they were. If you haven't read them, you totally should. In the new trilogy, those characters essentially don't exist anymore. So Grand Admiral Thrawn, for all intents and purposes, does not exist. That's just one example, but I think that it's hilarious that Lawrence Kasdan, who's written 4 Star Wars movies, probably one of the most important people in the world of Star Wars, has absolutely no idea what the canon is. That's just the funny takeaway. Just to add a little more context to what he was talking about, he was mostly talking about like little kids experiencing the trilogy. They're like, they don't care what the backstory is. They just love seeing the X-Wings flying around on screen. They love seeing lightsaber fights, big spectacles, without actually knowing what the literal story is. Like, they might not understand what the nature of the Force is or the particulars, but they know that it's really special. So he's really just saying that for a large portion of the audience, canon doesn't mean anything. But it is hilarious to see that in a headline. Star Wars boss has absolutely no idea what the canon is. More funny quotes. Moving on to your favorite foul-mouthed old mistress of the Star Wars universe, Carrie Fisher. She gives the funniest interviews just because she has the dirtiest sense of humor. Everyone remember the cinnamon roll hairdo? She was calling her new hairdo in Episode 7 the baboon's ass. So I just love the idea that she said she was walking around through this entire film with a baboon's ass on her head. Lupita was asked a little bit about her character's relationship with Yoda because she's 1,000 years old, he was about 900 years old. She joked that he was my first love. I would love to see that movie from Disney. You know, it's kind of like winking at Kathleen Kennedy. So if anybody wants to write some Yoda Maz Kanata fanfic, Lupita will probably be happy to endorse it. Another good one, J.J. Abrams confirmed no Ewoks and no Jar Jar in the movie. He joked that it was one of Harrison Ford's conditions for doing the movie, so I guess you could also douse that Jar Jar theory. I know everyone wants to believe in the Darth Jar Jar theory just because it's so ridiculous, but I do not believe it at all. He also said, this is actually a bigger one too, there is no post-credits scene after the movie, but that's not going to stop me from staying to the end of the credits. You have to remember that John Williams wrote a bunch of new music for this, so there's going to be an amazing soundtrack playing over the credits, so I would encourage everyone to stay to the very end of the movie. But in case there was any confusion, this is just the confirmation. There's not going to be like a Rogue One teaser at the end of the movie. Because don't forget, Rogue One is coming out next year. New Star Wars movie every single year. Gwendolyn Christie actually said that she didn't know that her Captain Phasma character started out being a male character before J.J. Abrams cast the role. Then he decided to make it a female, saw Gwendolyn Christie, and was like, oh my god, this is perfect. I'm so happy I did it this way. And they did confirm that she would be coming back. Like, she's a very brief presence in episode 7. She's going to have a much bigger role in episode 8. Think about her like Luke Skywalker, appearing in episode 7 in a small way, but much bigger in episode 8 though. And they did say that Rian Johnson, who's directing episode 8, he's currently in the thick of production on episode 8, made continuity a really big deal. So even if you're upset that they threw a lot of canon out from the expanded universe, internal continuity of this new trilogy is a very big deal for them. You may have heard John Boyega impersonating Harrison Ford and some of the other actors. He does impersonations of a lot of the other actors, but he told this funny story about Mace Windu. So they were asked, like all the actors were asked, do you believe or have you followed any of the fan theories about your characters? So a lot of people thought that Finn might be the grandson of Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson's character. So John Boyega said he was at a party earlier this year. Someone tapped him on the shoulder and said really loud, "Yo, Black Jedi." He turns around and it's Samuel L. Jackson himself. So Mace Windu himself, who probably hasn't seen the movie yet, thinks that Finn is going to become a Jedi, which I think is kind of funny. It doesn't mean that Finn is connected to Mace Windu, but it's just like a nice, funny, real-world meta moment. And just because Star Wars is such a huge deal, all the new actors were obviously like super intimidated when they were going to audition for their roles. John Boyega said that just to get himself pumped up, he went back and watched Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford's original audition tapes from episode 4. But in related news, there are a couple big trailers that are coming. They did confirm that the Star Trek 3 trailer is going to be attached to Star Wars The Force Awakens in theaters. It'll probably drop the same week that the movie drops, so new Star Trek trailer coming really soon. And X-Men Apocalypse is also probably coming sometime this week or next week, really soon. I've also seen a little bit of news about a new Deadpool trailer because that movie's coming in February, so don't be surprised if there's a new Deadpool trailer too before the end of the year. Here's my big question for you guys though. Let me know in the comments, what is like the funniest quote that you've heard from one of the actors or J.J. Abrams or someone Star Wars related since they started doing all these interviews? During the Jimmy Kimmel special, whenever, he was like jokingly asking Carrie Fisher how the movie ended, she basically told him it ends in this giant orgy of, quote unquote lightsabers. You can just imagine what those lightsabers were. But just another reason why Carrie Fisher is so awesome. Like, it's so funny to listen to her during Family Guy episodes being just the nastiest person ever. But if you guys didn't see either, Mark Hamill is going to be coming back to The Flash as the Trickster tomorrow. And there's always so many Star Wars jokes during those episodes. Like last year, he did the Darth Vader, "I am your father" moment. So if you want some really awesome Star Wars meta stuff happening, be sure to watch The Flash tomorrow night. I just posted a trailer video for that Mark Hamill Flash episode, so you can click here to watch that footage. So much awesome Mark Hamill stuff happening. Watch out for Star Wars jokes. And you can click here for my latest Game of Thrones teaser video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.